A long time ago, in one of the many galaxies, a huge, fully autonomous interstellar ship under the banner of Mandalore ended its long journey, arriving at its destination. For the first time in several hundred years, the Council of Elders was convened. For all the Elders, this event was the first time in their lives, except for a permanent and irremovable member of the Council, an onboard computer with artificial intelligence, programmed by Mandalore the Ultimate, the Great Shadow Father. And even what cannot be, one day it can still happen.
We know everything about them. We can make contact.
The Admiral's enthusiastic voice echoed several times around the circular Elder Council Hall, until silence fell. In normal times, only one of those present, the Viceroy, had access to the hall. Other participants were allowed here only during the convening of the Council. The large round hall of the Council of Elders was designed in such a way that anyone speaking, even in a low whisper, would be perfectly audible to everyone present. Stunning acoustics were achieved not only because of the semicircular arches of the hall, but also by specially treated and polished mineral on the floor, amplifying any sounds. This dark blue mineral was mined on one of the planets of the Old World and specially delivered to the ship for the decoration of the Council Hall. In the huge porthole, gaping with the blackness of boundless space, a small planet with an atmosphere of a bluish-green hue was visible. There was nothing in the hall except a large round stone table and 5 chairs around it. In the center of the table was an armored crystal hemisphere filled with a special gas to create ideal conditions for the performance of the heart and brain of the flagship. The gas inside the sphere sometimes changed color, imitating the mood of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, also known as an onboard computer and navigator, did not have the right to vote in the Council of Elders, did not make decisions, but had a certain undeniable power and even its own name, Gaze. Possessing incredible power, Gaze did not interfere in the life of the ship's crew and its passengers. Formally, Gaze was subordinate to the Viceroy. Technically, it was not subordinate to anyone. Keeping the ship in good working order with the help of numerous mechanic droids was his first priority. Important, significant, but not the main one. The main task of the Gaze was known, but everyone preferred not to mention it once again. The 4 chairs at the table were occupied. The 5th chair was occupied with a confident gait by the Admiral who had just entered. The Council of Elders was in full assembly. The Elders were dressed in identical sets of armor made of noble metal with a black sheen. The helmets completely hid their faces and differed only in the color of the faceplates around the T-shaped visors. On the helmet of the first Elder, who bore the title of Viceroy, there was a gold-colored plate. The Viceroy was responsible for making crucial decisions throughout the mission. There was a green plate on the priest's helmet. The priest was responsible for the canonicity of the knowledge entrusted to him and the general psychological attitude of the crew and passengers. The Chancellor's helmet was decorated with a white stripe. The Chancellor was responsible for the economy and the allocation of resources. The Admiral's helmet was decorated with a bright red plate. The Admiral was responsible for armament and the army. There was a bright blue stripe on the Master's helmet. The Master was responsible for health, education and preservation of the acquired knowledge. All 5, the Viceroy, the Priest, the Chancellor, the Admiral and the Master, made up the Council of Elders. The decisions of the Council of Elders were not disputed and were not retroactive. It was impossible to reverse the decisions of the Council of Elders. The decisions concerned absolutely everyone, both the crew and passengers. Everyone silently looked at the Admiral, who lowered the information storage device in the form of a crystal ball into a special compartment on the table. Above the receiving compartment was a faded, almost completely erased, but still noticeable inscription:
"Either find a way, or pave it yourself."
The crystal contained all the information obtained during the observation period. Having taken the ball into its bowels, the gaze began to process information. The Admiral took his seat. Finally, the silence was broken.
I understand, but I don't share your enthusiastic optimism, Admiral.
The priest's voice was serene. The fact that it was he who was saying it was clear from the appropriate gestures. The speaker connected the tips of his fingers on his hands together.
And I condemn your intemperance. Up-to-date information is now known only to you and the Viceroy. We must make informed decisions. Not only the success of all our mission depends on it, but also our future fate. Therefore, let's present all the available information to the Council in order, sequentially.
Joining the tips of his fingers together, the Master took the floor and spoke.
Many years ago, our ancestors decided to set a course for the planet KS-1307 in the constellation of the Polygon.
It should be noted that all those present knew the history of their ancestors, but to speak it again at the Council was part of the ritual, so that the gaze would understand that those present in their right mind, and they understand what they are talking about, which means that the decision they consciously made will be the chosen way. The Master continued.
Of all 227 potentially habitable planets discovered by our scientists at that time, this one was not chosen by chance. Our ancestors established not only the signs of intelligent life on this planet, but also the presence of a comfortable habitat that is completely suitable for us. 44 years ago, our ship reached the point of line of sight of the planet. The Viceroy gave the order to send reconnaissance droid corps to plot a route in hyperspace. So, what do we know about the planet, KS-1307, at the moment? The planet is located in the habitable zone of the star KS-13. Our scientists have named it Ferris. This is a red supergiant whose life stage will be calculated in the near future. The length of the planet's equator is 50,452 kilometers. The main area of the planet is occupied by water. A huge ocean occupies almost the entire surface of the planet. Only 15% of the total area is occupied by two continents located very close to each other. In the place of the maximum proximity of the continents, there is a strait with a width of about 3,000 meters. One continent is located in the northern hemisphere of the planet, covered with numerous forests and mountains. The second continent is located on the equator, but it is not a desert, rather humid tropics, impenetrable jungle. A year on the planet is equal to 2 standard years of the stellar measurement system. The axis of the planet is stable. There are no sharp seasonal changes. Only during the passage of the planet perihelion, the closest point of the orbit to the local sun, begins to melt a drifting glacier in the ocean, and then comes the season of thunderstorms with numerous lightning in the atmosphere. The planet is not only habitable, the conditions can be called ideal for colonization. The climate and air composition are stable.
The transparent hemisphere on the table suddenly turned red, so the gaze made it clear to those present about their indignation. The Viceroy raised his index finger up, interrupting the Master.
We all know that colonization of planets is not the main goal of our mission.
That's right, Viceroy. I brought this fact to discuss the possible colonization of the planet by representatives of other intelligent races. We must consider all options for the successful completion of the mission.
The sphere of gaze became transparent again. The Master continued.
Our ancestors made detailed maps of the terrain of the continents, and here's what's interesting. Traces of ancient, rather large buildings in the form of pyramids and walls have been found on the planet, the purpose of which is not yet clear to us. The structures are clearly made artificially by an existing or disappeared civilization. I give the floor to the Admiral.
The Admiral brought his fingertips together and spoke.
That's exactly how it is. It took 43 years for the reconnaissance droids to reach the average planetary orbit. Data collection on the planet began immediately, and a route was laid out in hyperspace. As soon as a safe route was laid, reconnaissance corps went into orbit for contact observation. The observation was carried out by 2 corps. The first one observed the northern mainland, the second, the southern one. The first data received confirmed that the planet, KS-1307, is not only inhabited. Intelligent life forms are also present on the planet.
The members of the Council of Elders looked at each other and nodded their heads approvingly to each other.
Intelligent inhabitants of the planet are upright protein creatures, humanoid type. They have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head with strange appendages. We called them dreadlocks. Their appearance is quite unpleasant. Adults on the front of the head have mandibles, fangs, which enhances the disgusting appearance. They are quite primitive in their development. They live in communities, clans. Agriculture is unknown to them, although they eat some fruits. The main diet is meat. They get it by hunting. The cult of hunting is very much developed in all clans. They know fire and, oddly enough, electricity. At the same time, they do not know the wheel. Based on this, we assume that there was another civilization on the planet earlier.
Are they mortal?
Yes.
The priest asked the next questions.
How do you know such details, Admiral? Have you made direct contact?
We did not come into direct contact with them, guided by the directive of the Council of Elders. All observations were conducted from orbit and on the ground by seeker droids covertly. Many of the creatures themselves die hunting. Also, in case of sudden aggression, we checked the capabilities of our weapons. Droids killed about a dozen single hunters with blasters.
This can harm a potential contact.
No, everything was done without witnesses. Besides, the local beasts quickly tore up the corpses without leaving any traces. The creatures are a kind of symbiosis of arthropods, reptiles, and mammals. They communicate with each other. The language of creatures is quite primitive, but also complex at the same time. According to our assumptions, this is not only a set of sounds at different frequencies, but also smells.
Smells? Communicating with smells?
Yes, they have a very developed sense of smell. They are natural hunters. We have deciphered a set of sounds, and I am sure that we will be able to communicate with them.
The master raised his finger up again, interrupting the admiral.
Tell us in more detail how, for example, do they call themselves and their planet?
The admiral calmly replied.
They call their planet Yautja, which means our grounds, or our territory, or Yao planet. Using different frequencies, the sound Yao can mean different concepts. This is I, you, he, she, we, clan member, hunter, all that concerns the designation of themselves. At the same time, there are differences. For example, the creatures living on the northern mainland call themselves Yadu, which literally means cold hunter. The creatures living on the southern mainland call themselves Yautja, which literally means heat hunter. And interestingly, in the course of observations, it turned out that the blood color of the creatures is different. Yadu, northern, have bright blue blood color. Yautja, southern, have bright yellow. There are differences in the coloring of creatures. We assume that these differences are somehow related to adaptation to climatic conditions. Viviparous creatures. They reproduce by classical mating of a female and a male. They live in clans with a rigid hierarchy within the clans. Every clan has elders. The whole life of the clan is under the control of the elders. They live by hunting. When hunting, they use the simplest types of weapons: spears, bows and arrows, throwing darts and knives.
The viceroy interrupted the admiral with his questions.
Yadu, Yautja, the same language. I wonder if they know about each other's existence on different continents?
Yes, they know.
Why don't they unite together? The distance of the strait is small, it can be crossed. Or these Yao hunters can't swim?
They are excellent swimmers.
What then is the problem of crossing from one continent to another?
The admiral lowered his head slightly.
Water. It occupies most of the planet. The ocean is deep and teeming with unknown reptiles. During the observation period, 2 hunters fell into the water of the strait. One accidentally, chasing prey, slipped on the edge of a cliff. The second one intentionally, apparently trying to move to another continent during the Mudro period. Both instantly disappeared into the seething abyss. Some underwater creatures instantly tore them apart. Smooth water is deceptive.
The priest abruptly threw up his index finger.
Admiral, don't forget that now you know more than we do. What is the period of Mudro?
Mudro is a special ritual of hunters. I'll try to explain. Sometimes, in some clans, it happens that mostly females remain in the clan. Males either die hunting or... This issue has not been fully studied. Perhaps there are just more females born in a certain clan. Then the Mudro period is announced. The females go hunting. Strange mating games. At this time, if one of the huntress catches a hunter from another clan, then he goes to the clan of the female. If a female is caught by a male hunter, then they have the right to form a new clan, where this pair will be elders. The process is complicated. The hunter must be very experienced to catch a female. He should go around her from behind and put his arms around her. It's very difficult. Huntress just don't let themselves be caught, knowing that during the hunt they themselves become prey. It is almost impossible to go to them from behind. The ritual is not fully understood, as the Mudro period does not occur so often. During the observation, This mating ritual was announced only twice.
The sphere in the center of the table turned from transparent to milky white. This meant that the information from the carrier crystal has been processed. The Viceroy's voice trembled with excitement.
Gaze. Announce the verdict of the analysis of the received data.
It is unclear from where an emotionless voice with metallic notes said,
"The data obtained has been analyzed. The inhabitants of the planet are suitable for contact and transfer of your burden."
All 5 in the hall breathed a sigh of relief.
We will vote. Who is in favor of making contact immediately?
The Admiral and the Chancellor raised their right thumbs up, which meant, for. The priest and the master lowered the thumbs of their right hand down, which meant, against. Everyone had their own motives for such a decision and it was not discussed. Responsibility for the collective decision once again fell on the Viceroy.
Let's not rush. Repeating the past will cost us too much.
The Viceroy got up from the table and went to the porthole. Looking at the planet, he reasoned out loud.
Yao 10. Yautja. Yado. We will give you what you need. We will do everything for the success of the mission. And all to free us from the burden taken by our ancestors. Chancellor, mobilize resources. We will build them a bridge. After such a gift, they will gladly accept our other offers. This is the way.
The remaining members of the council repeated after the Viceroy in one voice.
This is the way.
To be continued.